Coach Johnnie Cole in the HBCU Stroll, live here with the coach, Johnnie Cole. Today's guest is a friend of mine. We go way back. We actually started the business of coaching football together. We were two young coaches. But this time, like I've always told you guys, that this awareness of the lack of African Americans in the coaching realm of sports, it's got to be a twofold. We got to do our part as well as our counterparts across the table. And my friend today, he's a friend of mine. His name is Dean Dalton, and I'll be bringing him on here in a minute. We started this business, and he is a white guy. So today we will get a perspective, and he's real about it. And he's started a diverse committee. He's actually coached in the pros before, and you'll learn some other things about him of how he got his start. And the crazy thing about it is some of his mentors or some of the guys he actually worked for were Black coaches. He's one of the few guys, and I would say white guys, that understand the dynamics, the unfairness of what's going on and to sports and pro sports. And right now, he's a representative from the NFL Alumni Association. He's an executive director over a training and diverse committee. And, I'm looking forward, or I really, for you guys to look forward and to listening on where we could help at and where you could get at and where you can direct at. So it's going to be, an interesting conversation. And like I told him, you're gonna be on the hot spot. But I think he can handle it. I know that he comes from his heart. I like to welcome my friend, Coach. You still Coach Dean Dalton. How you doing, Coach?
Johnny, I'm doing great. Even better now to catch up with an old friend. It was great seeing you when I was down in Texas, and reconnecting is always a blessing.
Yeah. My supporters are listening. Said, "Man, how Coach? You always talk HBCU. Let's start. We're gonna get in it. We had some great conversations, and me and Dean met way back in 1988 at Texas Southern University under Walter Highsmith. And how me and Dean connected. Dean worked at the University of Wisconsin as, I think, a GA. And it happened to be that my brother worked there as well. And we were looking for a coach, and that's how we made the connection. I'm the only one on campus knew Dean was white, coming to HBCU. And I don't know. So because we're going to use white and Black today, because it don't matter to us. We did that, done that.
It's who we are. And
Yes.
and we've been friends a long time. And no, it's funny. Actually, it was Lionel Taylor,
Yes.
before Walter Highsmith, Coach High. But ultimately, I don't think LT knew I was white. I know the athletic director did not know I was white. You did, because I was on the staff with your brother, and he and I were great friends, and he knew how much I wanted to be back on the field coaching. And he said, my brother's down in Houston coaching, and they have an opening on their staff. Would you be interested? And I said, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And here we are. And 23 hours driving, we didn't have Google and all that stuff. Driving from Madison, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, down to TSU. And Texas Southern became my home for several years. And, my wife and I have so many long lifetime friends from our time there. It was one of the highlights of my coaching career stops.
Yeah. So look, we at Texas Southern University, you come down, you look around, you don't see nobody looking like you.
No.
How was the welcome? Was you
Well, I'll give you a funny story because I got there late at night and I didn't know anybody but you, right? I mean, in terms of phone numbers and all that, and I couldn't get a hold of you. So I was knocking on the door, and Robert Johnson, where I was custodian at the field house, and I said, I'm the new coach. He said, no, you're not. And we're great friends today, but it took a little convincing to let him know. And then that next morning, I had just driven, straight through.
Right.
So I laid down, and Coach Taylor was gone. His mother had passed, and he had left for service arrangements. And so the only one that knew I was coming was you.
Right.
And I walked out in the morning to the staff meeting and surprised everybody.
Yeah.
So it was a great first day, and it only got better every other day since then. And we've had a lifetime of friendships, and you and I, are like old friends. We hadn't seen each other in years. We reconnected. It was like old times.
Right. Well, Dean, of course, man, you talked and you doing some good things off the field for our minorities, African American coaches, because you see and have seen the disparity,
Yeah.
and you don't pull any punches by that. So kind of bring us up of what you trying to do with your program.
Well, first, let me introduce the name Fritz Pollard. Because many folks don't know the history of the first African American head coach in pro football, and it was a player coach named Fritz Pollard. He played for the Akron Professionals back in Ohio at the very beginning of the NFL, and actually the next year they changed the name to the National Football League. But in his and the great successes that he had, the Fritz Pollard Alliance was a nonprofit that was formed, and their mission statement is championing diversity in the National Football League. And they've worked hard for years and years, and I followed that model. At the combine, I was always at the Fritz Pollard breakfast and the events and the awards. And my introduction to the National Football League and my mentor was Dennis Green. Dennis Green is an African American head coach, one of the most successful head coaches. He had tremendous success in Minnesota and then moved on. And ultimately, he right behind me, Johnny. There's a sign that says "Knowledge is confidence." You said,
Right.
"You helmet too, huh, bro?"
Right. Yeah, that's TSU right there.
That's it, baby. Knowledge is confidence. And Denny used to hit me up, and he said, "Dean, knowledge is power." And my answer had to be, and information is the key. And that's our situation right now is people just don't have good information. There's not an awareness that allows the fairness in our profession. And ultimately, what we're doing is we've taken that Fritz Pollard Alliance mission statement and championing diversity in the National Football League, and we're putting practical action steps in. We're taking a proactive approach. We run the NFL Alumni Academy. It's a new program. It's only 3 years old, and we are incorporating a diversity training and development program to allow veteran NFL coaches and scouts and trainers to work with former players that want to transition from their playing days into the coaching profession. And Johnny, you're a great quarterback at TSU, and I got to know you as a coach at TSU and loved trading offensive, philosophies and mindsets. You understand that when you went from being that star quarterback to being an offensive quarterback coach, you had to transition. You had to learn how to teach, how to lead a meeting, or how to run a meeting, and all coaches do. Doesn't matter, who you are, what level you're at. You have to learn how to teach and run and lead, and that's what we're doing at our program is giving minorities, men of color, women opportunities to develop their skill sets, and train and prepare to get a competitive advantage for opportunities.
Yeah.
Then the next big part is creating opportunities. And so at our NFL Academy, we're running what we call the Fritz Pollard Leadership Academy inside developing our players. And what the Academy is developing free agent players to replace injured players during the NFL season. There's the National Football League is the only pro sport in the world that didn't have a feeder system, right? And baseball's got minor league, hockey has juniors, football had nothing. G League and the NBA. Football doesn't had a program, so we put it together. And we are the National Football League alumni, so we're the guys, the former players and coaches. And as you know, the disparity in leadership ratio in the NFL and player balance on
it's way off.
Well, it's not way off. It's dramatically disproportionate. It's
Right.
dramatically, and it has been. Let
me ask you something.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm gonna shoot you straight. And
That's
you as
how we roll. That's how we roll.
Yeah. Why do you think it isn't that many more African American coaches across the table?
I think it's the good old boy network. All right, and it's hiring. So first of all, you got to have enough confidence in yourself, right, to hire somebody smarter than you.
Yeah.
Right, and to hire somebody that can bring a different perspective and a different talent. Because if you hire a bunch of yes men, all you're going to get is one opinion, and that's it. No growth. You don't grow as a person. So I think the good old boy network has hired yes men and done that for so long that it is not allowed not only diversity, but it hasn't allowed the game to grow. The game gets better when you bring all kinds of different ideas and perspectives.
Right. I want to shout out to Moses Harper. He follows the show every week, and they about to start their season at Southwest up in Missouri. So good luck. But Coach, when you've said in both capacities, you've been at an all-black school, HBCU, and you've been in the pros. When you were sitting in that meeting room and you look across the room and there are only a few African American, what are your thoughts? Or what was your thoughts?
I thought it was interesting because it didn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense when we look at our roster of athletes and talented players, and you look at the transition from being a talented player and athlete to the professional ranks of coaching, scouting, leadership in the game. It's not disproportionate. It's off the chart whacked, right? And so what we can do is just, instead of like beating up the problem, create solutions, proactive solutions that are positive, that are helping people, and that are putting men of color in a better position to win. And our goal is to give them a competitive advantage and then open doors that weren't otherwise open.
Yeah. And that's why, I knew that, you would be the right fit for my show to not just code over it. It's just unfair, and how we got there, like you said, it's not how we have to stay. We got to find ways to change it. The NFL now is they're adding. Let me go to this one question. This is Jason.
I love a question.
Asked Dean about his thoughts about John Wooten, retired chair of Fritz Pollard Alliance, being a candidate for the PFHO. Was that the
Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2022.
I would love to see it. John Wooten, as a matter of fact, there's a Wooten Award. And for many years, speaking of the Fritz Pollard Alliance, he was the leader of the alliance. He had a storied career in the NFL as a personnel director and scout. He was known for discovering great talent and bringing them to the NFL rosters. I think he'd be an excellent candidate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And one of the things I will say is that I'm proud of the style of the leadership of the new executive director of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The first move he did as president of the Hall of Fame was put himself in the background and bring a Hall of Famer into the foreground. So he brought in Anthony Munoz, the Hall of Fame offensive tackle, to take a leadership role with the Hall of Fame now. So I think the leadership there is taking great steps towards recognizing success and talent. But what we have to do now is get the next generation, right? The next generation of success and talent into the pipeline, not just in pro football, but in college football and all the way down.
Well, I hear now the NFL has created a position for African American on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
And I think what gets me is that they label it as a young coach, and that takes coaches like myself and coaches that have came up through me as of cutting us out. When I think we need to be, if they're gonna put an age on it, I think the age need to be a lot more because we have earned it a lot more. And then
that's an interesting.
The other part of it is it is the thinking part, and I want to hear your part about it. Is we're gonna train these young coaches, but see, Dean, that's what happened to us way back in the '80s when these certain black coaches got these certain positions, and then they weren't able to understand that you got to bring other blacks with you. So right. Today, now those guys are older and now being pushed out and pushed towards HBCU. The black coach, and especially the black coach from HBCU, is becoming extinct. So to protect that, we got to be able to protect that at the black schools. It's almost like the elephants in the striped lions, lions and stuff, where they'll come in and they'll tag them and they'll say no hunting for 2 or 3 years. So that's what's happening. I'm thinking this position in the NFL should be for men or women of color. And I think it should be a guy that comes with a resume that fits it, not come with a resume that I'm a young guy. I think it should be
Johnnie, that's an interesting perspective. It really is, because I was excited that they're actually taking a step forward, and in the same token, I totally respect your opinion and get it, because you have great resume, as do many talented guys across the country that have done a successful job and built successful programs and gone on and led players onto their next careers, many into the NFL and many into more importantly many into real life. But I think that's a good point. I was excited that they're acknowledging it and that they're making an active step to adding and the point, the way I was told, is having an offensive coach puts them in a better position for future head coaching jobs. Right. And because historically offensive guys get hired more than defensive guys. And it's kind of like, go back to you lived this yourself. Go back to the black quarterbacks, right? I mean, for so many years, that bullshit about black guys can't be a quarterback. I'm like, what?
Kicked off my show now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, John. I should straight, bro. So I was, I've always felt that was ridiculous, and that's the same now with coaching. And if you look at it, studies have shown that first year African American head coaches have a higher winning rate than white coaches, and it's not always that they're given extra chances or extended chances, and yet taking care of your own is the mission in general of the NFL alumni, to take care of our own. And percentage-wise, our own are more African-American former players than not.
Right. I want to sneak this in. I know we're talking about the NFL. I mean, again, like you said, I got to take the hat off that they're doing something. They're actually doing something, saying this position is for an African American, and it's sad that we got to do that at this day.
I agree.
I'm gonna flip it to the college realm. It's time for them to do something as well, because these universities are state funded, are federal funded, and it's just rightfully so that you still got colleges in 2022 that's never had a black man in leadership role, let alone just the president or the head coach. And I think that the staffs ought to be more diverse to give us a chance. And you were saying about your program that's 3 years old. What is the success rate of the young men that go through your program that get a position, or what is your plan to track it to ensure it's just not lip service that they get some positions?
I don't know numbers specifically. I'll give you a couple examples. After year one, Jamon Bushrod, a small school guy who went to played 12 years in the league, was a Pro Bowler, won the Super Bowl with the Saints. Spent a year learning offensive line coaching from Mike Tice, who's been a head coach in the league and has 36 years in the league. Anthony Munoz, I just mentioned, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all times, and a man of color, and an opportunity to learn and grow under their guidance and leadership. And Steve Smith, another African-American offensive line coach that's on our staff, and he excelled. And he went to the Saints in a fellowship, and they liked him, and they hired him full time. And so that's a win. Last year we sent guys to the Raiders and to the Bears in positions. What happened is we got we caused the league office to pay attention, right? And now we're gaining some support, and we're bringing in third party groups. There's a group out of Raleigh, North Carolina called the Diversity Movement. That's the name of the company, Diversity Movement. We're working with them to become a more impactful in our programming, because we're going to expand it out. And we've also partnered up with the XFL, another league that is also led by a woman of color and a man of color, and a third partnership and a capital funding group. And obviously everybody knows The Rock, right? Dwayne Johnson, but his wife, his former ex-wife, Danny Garcia, she's the chairwoman of that league. And the reason that's important is we're working with them. We're working with Fritz Pollard Alliance. We're working with the groups, because those are the opportunities.
Right.
Once you get the competitive advantage and have training and development and polish, taking your characteristics, talent, and traits and polish them into a professional advantage as a coach, gaining experience, hands-on experience, working with these players all NFL season. Now you have a legitimate resume and some opportunities. But to your point, there's a lot of already great resumes out there. It's not always taking a former player who wants to transition. That's part of it. But there's also opportunities to open doors. Yeah. So in our program, we have 5 sessions. And as you know, after the Bayou Classic, right? There's HBCU coaches and administrators and athletic trainers will have opportunities to do other programming. So we're going to extend invitations in the session in December after the Thanksgiving Classics to bring in HBCU coaches into our program that are active. So this is opening the door for them to have exposure, because every day they're working with NFL free agent players that they're going through the process of coaching and teaching them, but they're writing coaches reports that get read by all 32 general managers every day. Right. And so that's how a coach's name gets out in front of the guys who are making decisions on hiring.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, Coach. Whether you got it in your system or not, I'm gonna say it for African American coaches is what is going to be the tracking mechanism to make sure, again, this is not like when I started the business and, when we used to go to coaching convention, oh, well, you got to cut your hair and you got to be well groomed and you got to speak well and you got to be able to get on the board and you got to be able to network. Well, my experience is I've been to Chicago Bears twice. I've been to the 49ers. I went to the Jerry Jones quarterback school, was invited back again. I went down to the 50 most diverse coaches in the country where I was down there with Norm Child and all these great coaches when Jimmy Johnson was hosting it. And a guy like me, I sit back and I said, well, what else do I need to do? Then as a coach, as I've been successful and put up numbers and all that kind of stuff. And when I look at you and we both started out and you went on to the pros, of course, I went on to the HBCU. That's what I wanted to do. You could see that. So, Dean, I don't have to say you're a white guy. Tell me, why Dean Dalton? Why you? And what have you seen or experienced to say, man, this is a problem? And if we had more people like you, because I've been telling my supporters and my viewers that it's just going to take more than us African Americans to make a difference, at least in this industry, to turn it or make it.
Well, it's not to be too cliche, but teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes.
And you and I were teammates, right? And you're a black guy, I'm a white guy. We had a heck of a good run, and that was when we were young coaches, right?
Right.
And now we've gone on in our careers. You as a champion head coach, and I found my way thanks to an African American head coach who hired me, Dennis Green, in the NFL. So and again, one of my other mentors, I'm a spokesman for the foundation called All Pro Dads. That's Tony Dungy's foundation. So I've been afforded an opportunity to have exposure to some elite African American coaches. The one year that Mike Tomlin was the defensive coordinator was with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I wasn't coaching with him. I actually was doing TV and radio and stuff. And so Mike and I got to know each other a little bit. And that's the one example of the Rooney Rule that worked. And that's because, ironically, the Rooney family, right? But he went in there and dominated the interview. And that's his personality and that's his style. And to your point of bringing guys along, when Brian Flores took that stand this year against the league about the hiring practices and all, and the opportunities and the challenges for African American coaches, credit Mike Tomlin for keeping Brian in the game, because he could have been ostracized and put on an island. And that's just not right.
And that's big. That was big for us as a race to see another black man look out for another one. That was big.
And I give him all the credit in the world. That was great. And it's good for the game because it shakes up the old school, right? You got to pay attention to this because it isn't right. And you look at other guys that have gone through the process, and that Rooney Rule was a check the box rule. And that's a baloney. I cleaned it up for your show, bro. But no. Now our goal is to give guys an advantage and more opportunities for exposure because the league is starting to pay attention, and we need action steps to put action behind it. Right, positive action will get a positive reaction, and it's got to be guys like me, right? Acknowledging, hey, you're a black guy, I'm a white guy. Doesn't matter. You're a football coach, I'm a football coach. You got great ideas. All right, let's incorporate it, make our game plan better, right? So it comes down to getting the most prepared people opportunities and then letting them deliver on those opportunities as opposed to checking boxes. That's bull.
That's just one of the things that, if as a black man, period, black man, black woman, is to first recognize that there was something that we're not proud of that happened in this country, and it gave one race a jump on the other, without a doubt. And it went as far as us not loving each other, with the trades, with the slave trade, and all the other horrible things that happened to our ancestors. I'm just taking you back a little bit, Dean. I'm taking you back to a couple of our conversations.
Right.
And, in one aspect, I take my hat off to you. I know where your heart is, and, but then, again, sometimes it angers you to say, wow, now I got to go through all this and I got to get taught over and over again. And, just to get an opportunity. So I do take my hat off to you. And, when you hear that, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think, John, I think that it's a fact. We history is real, but accurate history is most important, right? I got to be honest. I was really honored this year. I got asked to speak. Going back to the Tony Dungy relationship, I got asked to speak at the Fatherhood Festival, and I was up at the Hall of Fame, and it was an honor. I was standing next to men like Mike Singletary and Anthony Munoz, and I got to know young guys like David Tyree and Sean Alexander, and all the good things they're doing in that space. But then I left before the second day of Fatherhood Festival, because I got asked a more important and a bigger honor. I got asked to speak at the Custom House down in Galveston, Texas, on the dedication of the Juneteenth Museum. And so I was really honored, just here, obviously June 19th, to go down there. And in the process of that, we talked about, the accurate history, and we talked about acknowledging the accurate history, and not dwelling on it, learning from it, right? So we learn, we grow, we improve, and learning from the history to create opportunities for talent. And to your point, I talk about our program is teaching, training, developing, and all that, which is good for a young guy that doesn't have the background. For a veteran coach like yourself, it's all about opportunity. So that's going to be exposure to the decision makers that do the hiring, and that's ownership. Ultimately, what we need is some more Black ownership, men and women of color in ownership roles, and there have been some great successful Americans and Black folks globally that could be in those positions. And so, in that case, we have to also break the barrier, right? The good old boys club has to be broken in that capacity too. And so that will be the real turning point when we have Black ownership.
Right.
But ultimately, until that point in time, we need Black leadership, and that's because that's our league, and that's our sport, and we need to improve opportunities for men and women of color to succeed on they're succeeding on their own merits, but they got to have the opportunity, that fairness part, right? Awareness and fairness. We got to have the fairness part incorporated into it.
Well, I don't want Dean Dalton and Johnnie Cole to start a war, but ain't no question that the players, if the Black players got together, or the players period got together and said, no more, we're going to strike until we come with a significant rule. It's almost like it's got to be a significant rule, not a Rudy rule to give them opportunity to interview. We got to say, okay, if it's a coaching staff of 10, so many of them got to be African-American, 50-50 or whatever. Man, they could do that tomorrow. You know what I mean? But we understand that they're in a different realm. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the players have done well for themselves when they've gone on strike, right? In terms of, just improving the financial situation. But more than half the players are not the Russell Wilsons and the top 10%, right? Most of them are the middle class and the rookies and the young guys, because that's the economics of the NFL. And their careers are only 2-3 years long. So the last collective bargaining agreement wasn't as player friendly as it should have been, because the majority of the votes, just getting over 50%, came from those guys that just wanted a job, and didn't want to risk it. What you're talking about takes risk, and that's I think going to be the challenge. Is these guys, their careers are only 2-3 years long if they make it, and they don't want to risk that. But when we get the leaders, right, that are willing to risk it and go out there. I watched a movie on a flight the other day called National Champions. It's a new movie out, and it was interesting. The Heisman Trophy winning black quarterback for one of the teams, and it's a fictional movie, took a stand the week of the national championship. Wasn't going to play if they didn't take care of the players. Now, that was an NIL kind of a thing, not really a white-black thing, but the concept was what you were suggesting, is when
stand up for what's right.
Stand up for what's right, and those that are in a position to have a platform to be very influential, they got to be able to do that. And we have some leaders in the NFL that will. It's just got to get enough of them.
Yeah. Coach, I got a young coach coming on, Trey Pike, who I met up in Fort Scott.
Okay.
My other friend. And,
Coach Cole, you got me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, see, he's spicy. He's spicy. He was for 30 years ago. Man, this is my show. No, Trey now is a head coach down in Florida, and we work together at Fort Scott at a town with 12,000 people, and 11,999 of them was white, and me, I'm the black guy.
There you go.
Hey, I'll tell you this, Coach Cole. Hey, Coach Cole's been telling stories about me and my redneck ways. What about Coach Cole?
Yeah.
He said the most exciting thing we did in Fort Scott was running over a possum one night.
Yeah, so we intertwine. Of course, Dean, how I am.
Yeah.
Respect each other's culture, and we done things his way, done things my way. And I'm still mad at you because we got stuck in a mud hole going over hills. How they do, drinking beer, throwing cans out at the window in this place, and we got stuck. And I said, you telling me that we in this truck driving, and it's not a four-wheeler?
They got a four-wheel drive.
But go ahead, Coach, kind of bring us up real quick where you are. We got about 25, 30 minutes. I know you got your team and getting ready.
Yes,
Trey, kind of let us know where you are, and I got a couple questions to ask you.
Go ahead. Yeah, Coach, like you said, man, I'm in Florida. I'm a head high school coach here near Panama City. Just took over the program. A lot of young kids, just trying to build them up right, Man, I love it. I got another job. I work on the beach. I run a boating company, and I'm having to let that be subbed out now because, football definitely takes priority in my life, and, man, just – me and Coach Cole talk probably once, twice a week, every week about a million different things, and I'll just be honest with you, man. He's been a great mentor to me in more ways than you can understand. We don't always agree on everything, but one thing that we always have is respect for each other. We got love for each other. He's a brother for me. At the end of the day, I'll take a bullet for him, and I know he'd do the same for me.
Yeah. Trey, again, was an offensive guy, and now he's a head coach. And, we talk about hiring practices. And can you share some of the hiring practices with that, Coach, the kind of time that you had trying to hire people of color? And
well, like I told you, we talked on the phone, there wouldn't be a Rooney Rule if we hired the most qualified and didn't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
There would not be a need for that. And it's like me and Coach Cole's always talked about, people get comfortable hiring people that look like them. I want to be comfortable hiring guys I know that can do the job, if that makes sense. Like my O-line, D-line coach is a 6'7" guy, played at FAMU. Doesn't look like me. He's my best friend. You know what I mean? Like, we're always together. And to me, I think that's bigger than anything else we can do. And when kids of different diversities see both of us doing everything together, man, that's big. You know what I mean?
Dean, what you
that's absolutely correct. Coach Pike is hiring the most qualified guys. It goes back to the yes man, good old boy thing we were talking about, Johnny. If you just hire the best guys, it won't be a racial thing, and you'll find a much better balance on your staff, and that comes with a coach that has enough confidence to hire guys that are going to be smarter than him in certain aspects.
My goal is to be the dumbest one in the room.
Go ahead.
That's a good goal.
I said my goal is to be the dumbest person in the room.
Right. Dean, how? Yeah. Okay, I'm watching this show, and I'm a young coach because a couple of them have flashed up. And Coach Pike, how do we where your program is going to be at, and is it a email or is it how do I get into that program, or you guys are just, I know you're going to be working out of Arlington, Texas. Yeah. So are the first part is just dealing with people out of Texas, or can somebody from the outside come in?
Well, no, it'll be people from all over the country, and again, it's like anything. We're going to have influence and partnerships. So there'll be recommendations from NFL teams. There'll be recommendations with our relationship with the XFL teams. There'll be relationships with college coaches and recommending others. And it's going to be. I'll check our numbers here. We're going to go through 30 to 60 coaches and staff in the Fritz Pollard Leadership Academy. In this first year, and they'll be on the field coaching the top free agent players, and learning and growing and imparting their knowledge and skills, in addition to learning and growing from the off the field classroom stuff, where they'll spend time and get to pick the brains of veteran coaches, 20, 30-year coaches.
Now, Troy, I know you down there at Division I A school, and you get another opportunity to be a head coach. When you look at diversity, is that an issue down there where you are, or is it because stat-wise, 95% of all athletic directors, Dean, in high school probably and in college are white folks, white people.
Right.
That makes it hard. Not only are we not getting jobs on the NFL level, we're not getting jobs, period, where we are qualified. How you feel about that, Coach Pike?
A good friend of mine is Derek Ansley. I played for him in college. He's the DB's coach out of the Chargers. And he told me that one of the things is that the issue was a lot of people wouldn't finish their degree. In high school, to be able to be a high school coach, you have to be a certified teacher in most states. And if you don't have a degree in teaching, that automatically disqualifies you. And I think that's the biggest problem across the board, because, most top-tier athletes, they go on to the league, make their money, and never finish their degree for the most part. You know what I mean? That, I think, is the biggest problem in high school. But as far as what I've worked with, like my previous head coach in AD, he's from Haiti. He's one of my really good friends. I worked with him for 3 years. Very diverse. We hung out every day, just and around here, especially in our program, we're pretty much 50-50 as far as all the head coaches across the board. So here, luckily, it's not a problem, but in a lot of schools, Coach, you're right. It's an issue, I believe.
Yeah. Dean, kind of bringing it to the end. Your thoughts, your final remarks. Where we can go, where we should go, where we should be. Right. And again, if you could do this for me, and you probably already got in your system a tracking system.
Yeah, I think your point was really good on that, Johnny, because the old saying, if you measure it, you can manage it, right? You gotta keep score. You gotta keep track, and that's the only way that you can advance and win. And no matter in the game or real life. And so kind of to sum things up, our opportunities with this NFL Alumni Academy and the Fritz Pollard Leadership Academy inside, as part of our program. If you go to NFLalumniacademy.com, you can see a website and contact us. There's a way to get your information in front of our staff. Unfortunately, it's real world, so a lot of things are going to be referrals and recommendations, but it's always going to come down to qualified guys and that's and women. And what actually helped us gain some traction with the NFL was when we had female coaches, and they went on and acknowledged those successes, and that parlayed into a very positive thing. ESPN did the women's football championships just last week, and it was the best ratings they had of that. And for a women's football game, that's kind of surprising, but it's great. It's great advancement for the game. We're all about things that are good for the game. We're going to support no matter what it is, and ultimately, what's best for the game is to have the best coaches, the best leadership, the best GMs, eventually owners in a place to succeed, and put everybody in a place to succeed. That's what a coach does, right? We're all coaches, and our job is to put our players in their best chance to succeed, and that's what we need to do as leaders in this space. All right, is put our organizations, our teams, our universities, our schools in the best place to succeed, and that's having the most qualified folks and the most talented folks in leadership roles.
Right. Now, is there any other programs out there that you know about that is trying to do some diversity things, to try to even this playing field? Do you hear anything on the high school level, Trey?
Not really. I mean, not right now, to be honest. Not that I've heard of. Luckily, one of my old college teammates, he's coaching college ball now. He just got the Bill Walsh with the Chargers. That's still a big thing. He's in a Division III school and was able to go spend time with the Chargers. So, that's a big shout out to him. But really, I mean, Coach Cole, at the high school level, it's kind of like what you already mentioned. It comes like notoriety, talking, the networking. That's why, that's one of the reasons I asked you to speak to my kids, because they see somebody that looks not like me, big age now. You came from the city, I came from the country, and they see us, we're brothers. That's just all it is to it.
Right.
And that starts putting in their head, hey, man, the world ain't what people tell me it is. We're all brothers. And that's what I want to preach to my team.
Right. Well, we always talked about that, as well as me and Dean. We were like Mike and Ike, and I don't know which one of us Ike, but yeah. But so.
Well, I liken Johnny. I'm just sorry to jump in there. When I first came to Texas Southern, I had 3 degrees, right? But my education happened in those years that we spent together, right? That made me a better coach and a better person by a long shot. Right. And those relationships live on to this day. Yeah. I mean, Michael Strahan went on to be superstar celebrity. We talk, we text, all the time. James Williams, one of our old players now, he's coaching back in the SWAC, and I was so excited to see him at Alabama State. And just all those relationships and dynamics. Like Johnny, we were talking about Marcel Smith, right? Superintendent of schools at a huge district in Texas. So those are exciting accomplishments, and that's the most rewarding thing for any of us as coaches, is when our guys go on to succeed. And all we're trying to do with our program, all right, is create opportunities for success and put the best possible people in those positions.
That's right.
Because it's just very important. It's not only important just the fairness of it, economically wise, for African American families and all that. And I want to say, I know how hard you work, Dalton. I know what kind of coach and what kind of man you are. So with you, Trey Pike, and I don't want to take away from that. And not saying that, because I'm Black, we've worked harder. And I want the people who's watching this show, whether they're white or Black, I'm not taking anything away from anybody working hard, and I want to say that, I honor and respect that. But on the other side of that, it got to be some fairness. It's got to be some understanding that there was some disadvantages that have taken place in America, and a lot of it was 400 years ago, but people
that's 400 years of education was lost.
Are hurting some of us today, because not only was it material-wise, land, it was education-wise as well that we were held up, but genetic-wise and DNA-wise, that stress kills, high blood pressure, hypertension, all that, that's in us right now. You know what I mean? It's in us for a reason. It ain't that we're different from us. It's just that my ancestors and stuff went through a lot of different than you. And what we're asking, and both of you guys, we talk about all the time, and you guys are not afraid to be you and talk black and white.
Yeah. Well, it's real and it's life. And that's, like, again, Johnny, your physical brother, right, was my friend that introduced me to you. And then you and I started working together, and we bonded, like Mike and Ike, whatever you want to say. Because we always shot straight.
Right.
And when people are honest and respect each other's dignity, you're always going to be all right.
Right.
And that's what we've got to make sure we're reinforcing. We're all educators in one capacity. Coach Pike down at the school in Florida, Johnnie in all your years, and now at the Arlington School District. And again, my role in this academy that we built, it's all about education. Right. And knowledge is power, or as that science says, knowledge is confidence. And that goes back to the awareness piece. The old quote, he who doesn't study history is condemned to repeat it. But we got to study accurate history, right? And then that awareness will lead to fairness. That will lead to the respect factor. One of the things, our gear at the academy is a company called Respect Your Universe. And a big part of it was we love the messaging. Now, it's comfortable, it's good stuff, high quality, but RYU, Respect Your Universe, the messaging of respect. And that was powerful. And we wanted to really reinforce it, even in the subtle way of our apparel. Right. And so that's what this all comes down to. And to your point on opportunities, Johnny, that's part of history. It's true. Right. And the only way you adjust that, all right, is be proactive and do positive, solution-oriented things. And knowledge of the problem is critical to solving it. Yep. But then approach it with a solution-oriented approach. Come at it with opportunities for improvement, opportunities for success, and that's the only way we'll change it. And there's got to be enough faces that look like mine that respect faces that look like yours, right, at the highest level of dignity and opportunity. Because then talent wins, right? Then that's when we got the most qualified people.
That's exactly right.
Right. Trey, your last remarks.
Man, Coach, first I'm going to say I appreciate you talking to the kids today. I know it's kind of last minute. Got you shout out, man. I appreciate
you.
Hey, man. It's like, Coach Dean was talking about, it starts with respect. I mean, 100%. The movie Remember the Titans, they go in the scene, go find somebody that don't look like you and get to know them. It's that simple. It is that simple if we'll think that way. When I first come to Fort Scott, I've worked with black guys, but I've never worked with somebody like Coach Cole, who was the head coach. But Coach Cole said something to me that has stuck with me ever since. He said, hey, me, you, and Harper, we're going to go eat. He said, Coach, I can teach you more on this napkin than I can sitting in the office. And what that meant, not just football, that meant getting to know me as a person. And me getting to know him as a person. And that has stuck with me since, July the 7th of 2012. It has stuck with me since that day. I can remember the day I said it, and I can remember the restaurant we were sitting in.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't have to go there no more.
Hey, we need some sugar foot and peaches barbecue though.
Yeah. Dean,
Yeah.
last remarks.
Johnny, I tell you what. First of all, I appreciate you inviting me to share this conversation with you. You know, when we get together, this is how we talk. This is who we are. We grew up as young coaches together, and the reason that we have this level of respect is because we had it then, right? And cheer each other on. You know, your success makes me happy and excited and proud, right? And conversely, mine made it. You feel good about it. You know, we talked about friends in common. You know, when I was at the University of Wisconsin before I went to Texas Southern, all right, Fred Jackson was one of my best friends. He got promoted as a black man. He got promoted to a Big Ten job, Big Ten coordinator position, offense coordinator. When I was with him was Wisconsin. He did it again at Michigan, to his credit. But ultimately, he said to me, he said, Dean, you're one of the only white guys I know that can just get in the car, drive down to Houston and start coaching in the SWAC like it's no big deal. And the truth is, it was a big deal because I learned and grew every day. Being immersed at an HBCU school and coaching in the SWAC and all the friends and family and teaching classes at TSU, all the friends and families of friends that we grew together, was a part of my growth. Right. And it was part of what I think everybody should experience. To Coach Pike's comment, find somebody that doesn't look like you and just show them respect and go forward together. And ultimately, we've remained friends. And after a long time not talking, we got together. It was like old times, right. Johnny. And that's because we were true friends. Right. And we really cared about each other. We really respected each other. And that's how we got better as coaches. That's how we turned that program around. Right. And that's what's exciting to me today. And many of my friends from Texas Southern are my close friends to this day and will be for a lifetime. And much like I hope they believe that I am sincerely always there and a true friend to call when you need something. And as we kind of wrap this conversation up, life is about relationships, right? And life is about people. And when I was doing the technology around the NFL with Catapult and Zebra and Next Gen Stats and that, I used to tell all the IT geeks, guys, it's always going to be people. It's not the programming. It's not the algorithms. It's the people. And get to know and get to be honest with the people. Like you guys broke bread together, and that was when you became real, And so I think when we can break bread and when we can sit down and roll up our sleeves and just talk man to man or man to woman or black to white with respect, you'll find that you got a lot more in common than everyone else.
Thank you both. I'm gonna have to move on. Got to pay some bills. We're gonna check up on your program when you start getting the numbers, maybe in the spring. Thank you, Coach. Good luck to both of you. I'll see you around.
See you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach Cole. I look forward to having you come out to the academy.
Yeah.
And
I will be there
first time. You be part of it.
I told you, Cole, I'm ready for you to come to the beach with me now.
Okay. Hey, I want to thank you guys. I know we're running short, but hey, today, use some words like thank you to another black person. Use some words like I love you. Use some words like please and hello, and always don't take the offensive side. The defensive side. Take the offensive side sometimes if you see a mistake, whether somebody made or you made. Man, we gotta love each other. I hope this show was something that you can learn from, that there are people across the table that don't think like some of what they say, the good old system. Again, next week, we're going to have Curtis Simon, who owns HBCU TV, The Goal. The week after that, we will have Stedman Graham, and we're looking for those two to bring some awareness to us. Again, thank you. If you're having a problem, tie a knot at the end of the rope, and ain't nobody bad like you. See you next week.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, July 18th, 2022. Number 1, there was an emotional return Friday to the scene of the racially motivated mass murders with the reopening of a Buffalo, New York grocery store. There were opponents to the reopening who felt it was too soon and asking if it should have happened at all. Others, including Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown, pointed out how many relied on the grocery store on that city's east side. The 18-year-old white gunman who opened fire at the Top supermarket May 14th was recently charged with federal hate crimes in the killing of 10 black people and injuring 3 others. Number 2, 2 years in the making, the country's 3-digit 988 suicide and crisis lifeline is up and working. Saturday marked the debut of the 988 phone number. Whether there are suicidal thoughts or any other mental health emergency, anyone can now call or text 988 for help. Advocates hope this number will become as widely known and used as 911 is for police and fire emergencies. Number 3, according to the United Nations, about 25 million children worldwide have missed out on routine immunizations against common diseases like diphtheria, largely because the coronavirus pandemic has disrupted regular health services. In a new report published Friday, the World Health Organization and UNICEF said their figures show 25 million children last year failed to get vaccinated against diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. Data showed the vast majority of children who failed to get immunized were living in developing countries, namely Ethiopia, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and the Philippines. Number 4, Styles P, a member of the hip-hop group The Lox, was recorded on video recently trying to protect a black woman from being arrested. The now viral video begins with Yonkers, New York police officers slamming a black woman on a sidewalk near her moped before putting handcuffs on her. A woman recording the video can be heard yelling at the officers as she runs towards them, while Styles P tries to calm the woman being arrested before directing his anger towards the policeman. Number 5, inflation has reached a 40-year high, and gas prices have begun surging since April 2020, with the average cost hitting past $5 per gallon in June. Rapidly increasing rental costs, along with the end of federal COVID relief, have also hit families with a 1-2-3 punch. Food banks across the nation were beginning to see a decrease in requests as people returned to work as pandemic shutdowns eased, but now they're struggling to keep up with food requests. Although gas prices have recently eased, food costs continue to escalate, and as a result, many of those seeking food donations for their families are coming to the food banks on foot. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Invest in your mental health like your quality of life depends on it, because it does. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with comedians Chris Paul and Huggy Lowdown and social justice activist Coy Malone as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybilWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.